In this session, we are going to go through creating a program for palindrome validation. Now, palindrome is a word that reads the same backward and as forward. For example, madam. If you read it backward, M-A-D-A-M, is the same as you read from forward, M-A-D-A-M. Similarly, race car, if you read this way, R-A-C-E-C-A-R, and you read back, R-A-C-E-C-A-R. So this is a palindrome. You need to write a Boolean expression, a Boolean method is palindrome to validate if a string is a palindrome, and call a method from main to validate your code. And then a bonus question is to use this is palindrome method you just wrote in a larger context where you will read text from a file, write the validation to another file, line by line. If the line is palindrome, then write true to output file, otherwise write false. Now let's create this is palindrome validate first. And apparently in the main, I'm just going to write some validating code like is palindrome. You're trying to validate the string, right? So it would be like race car. And this will return true or false. Then I'll probably just do a system dot out dot print line, print out this value. Race car plus is palindrome race car, right? Something like this. And then inside the true question about logic is palindrome, how to do that. If you think about is palindrome, you are basically comparing the first word, first character, first char of a string to its last char. So you are comparing string char at 0 must be equals to char at, not chat, char at 0 equals to char at string dot length minus 1, which is the last word, right? Which is the last char. Then following that, you are doing a char at 1 equals to char at string dot length minus 1 minus 1. Oh, minus 1. Then followed by char 2 equals to char at string length minus 1 minus 2, right? And if you now at this point, you should be able to see what the pattern is. You are doing the string length minus 1 minus 0. And this is the way, why do we bring up this palindrome? Because it shows us how to handle string. You want to handle string one char at a time. And if you have question on how this can be done, write the first 3 or 4 example, first 3 or 4 iteration that you are going to go through and find patterns in this definition. So here, as you write this char at formula, you can realize what we are trying to do is char at I equals to char at string length minus 1 minus I. This is the pattern we are going to look through for the whole string. And in fact, it's not even whole string, it's half of the string. As long as you reach the half point, the center point, string char from 0 to char at length minus 1, char at length divided by 2. So if the char is, if the char itself have an even number of characters, this divided by 2 will give us the number of, half a number of the string. If the length is not even number of characters, it has odd number of characters, divided by 2, because it's integer division, it will give us from the first character to the one right before the middle character, the one in the middle. So this is how you define I. I should be from 0 to string.length divided by 2. And in fact, if you really work hard and write down the detail of mathematical calculation, you will see it's -1. It's a string.length divided by 2 minus 1. But here, I'm going to save us some mathematical calculation. So this will be the logic. Only when all these are equal, then it's a palindrome. As soon as you have a not equal, then is palindrome, I will say flag equals to false. It's no longer a palindrome. Before that, of course, we need to assume flag is true, assuming it's a palindrome. So we will start doing the comparison, right? We will do the comparison, or as soon as there is an error, there is a mismatch, we will say the flag is false. It's not a palindrome. But as soon as, if after running through all these, half of the length of a string, all the characters equals to their matching characters, then this flag equals to false will never be executed. And then flag will remain true, then we can return flag. Right, so let's create a Java class. Let's call it sample question palindrome validation. And I'm going to create, as always, public static main void main string array args. Somehow I'm typing like crazy. And now let's add Java doc, which will bring us, what's the error? I think there's an error message. Am I doing something wrong? Usually it shouldn't. Syntax error of tokens. Oh, that's because I have this extra closing bracket. So now if I type in, now I have the author tag. So let's copy this over. Inside main method, we're going to call, as we show here, right? And then we also need to create public static void. No, there's a boolean. It's going to return a true or false. It's palindrome with a string input. And I think word is a keyword I cannot use. And I'm going to copy our code here, our pseudocode here. Remember, these are still pseudocode. They are not real Java code. So I do need to add // so that it's not going to cause issues for us. First, flag equals to true. We are saying Boolean. Then for this calculation, for this for loop, we are going to have I int I equals to 0. This is initialization of code, and I less than string length divided by 2, and then followed by I plus plus. I want you to, not string, but the word input. I want you to go through some examples, like race car, and try calculating the string length divided by 2. Race car is 7 characters, divided by 2 is 3. So you need to calculate 0, 1, 2. Is that enough for palindrome calculation? You need to go through this yourself as a bonus question to this video. And let's copy this inside. You can remove return flag. It's okay to return it. No, we don't need it. So here we have the if char at I larger than this. And now we need to do what? Flag. Now char at is a method of word input. So let's add word input for char at and word input length. And here inside here we have we will set flag equals to false. So this is the is palindrome method. Now if I run it, race car is true. How about I put a race? Let me add like S here. Race this car. It's a false. So which means our logic is correct. But in order to validate it's correct, it's usually better if you can have a sample, carry a string, and try to test it. Let's use Madden as an example. Right. So the way we investigate is we will go through this as if we are the computer, and we go through this Java document, so case by case, statement by statement. So we start by print out Adam and is palindrome, same word. This will lead us into the method is palindrome. So flag equals to true. That's the first statement we execute. The second step, we initialize I equals to 0. Nothing wrong with it. Then I less than this, we should use word input dot length, which is madam dot length. This is 5, right? 5 divided by 2, because this is the integer division. So it becomes 5 divided 2 equals to 2. Is I less than 2? Yes. So we will execute the input. So we will get inside of a for loop. If word input, now we need to replace the I, the word I with the character I with 0. This is what we are trying to calculate, right? Which we need to validate if this is true. And char at 0 is m, and char at length minus 1 is also m. So m equals to m or not. The answer is no. It's not equal. It's equal, so it's not equal. The answer is false. So we will not execute this flag equals to false part. Then after that, we will have a I++, right? After the statement is done, inside the statement is done, we will have the update. I++ makes I equals to 1. And now is I less than 2? We are going to verify after the update statement, we'll go back to the condition, the test condition. The result is still true. So we will do this comparison again. This time it will be tried 1 versus length -1 and this will lead to 5 -1 1 equals to 3, right? And this originally was 5 equal -1 will become 4. So this will help us get A equals to, and the char as 3 is 0, 1, 2, 3. It's A. The answer is false. A not equals to A is false. So this part inside if is not executed. We will skip it. Then now we do I++ and I now equals to 2. So this time, I less than 2, the answer is false. So we will exit for loop and pretty much complete return this true, currently is still true, back to the printout. Now, let's use an easier example. If we just have a at, what will happen? Flag equals to true, I equals 0. At the length is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? I less than 1, for now, yes. And that will lead us char at 0 to, which was the length, -1, -0, right? And length is 2. So it becomes 2 minus 1 minus 0 is 1. This is the comparison that we are going to use. Oops. Which will bring us to, is A not equals to true? And the answer is true. A does not equals to T, which will bring us to this statement. So we will execute flag equals to false. And once you have flag equals to false, then you can continue with the second step, I++, which makes I equals to 1. And then we can, let's do this comparison, oops. I is no longer less than 1, so we will exit and return flag, which is false, right? So by going through this as if you are a computer, by going through the first few iteration, you will have a good understanding of issues, of how the workflow is. And usually, if you run into issues with loop, this is how you are supposed to debug your issue. Run into the issue, then assume yourself is the computer. Get the initialization, get the test, go through the loop, go through the if conditions inside, step by step, statement by statement. And after you go through 2 or 3 iterations, usually you will be able to tell why the error is happening. And the rest, there's another one, is a read text from a file and write the validation another file. Then here we will use the same file read and write framework that we use. And I will leave it up to you how to write it. But basically the framework, opening the file, going through the while statement, And the closer file will be still same. It's in the processing inside, how you are going to change the line, output of a line. That's what you need to do. You need to understand how you utilize this palindrome method, how to make conversions, and most importantly, how to fit this logic into the existing framework. So this is the bonus question that I will leave you to finish.